Right. This is police in South Carolina.
Right, so I'm actually going to take this live. Yeah. Sorry?
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay. We actually are getting an update right now on the fire situation and news conference currently. Let's listen in.
The Arizona State Forestry. The estimates of acreage last night and this morning that were released were approximately 300 to 400 acres. The fire did burn actively throughout the evening and night, leading to that acreage increase from 300 to 400. This morning we had aircraft fly the fire, and when they flew the fire, they were able to get a more accurate GPS map of the fire. And in doing so, they determined that the fire is currently 1,100 acres. And we've also determined that we have 15% containment, which will be located on the southeast portion of the fire. We currently have crews working in the area of the structures. Those crews are working on mopping up hot spots, making sure that it will be safe for residents to return to their homes when that time comes. The other crews are working on the north end to the head of the fire, working on building containment lines where possible directly on the fire edge, and where the fire behavior is too extreme due to high fuel loading, high temperatures, and low relative humidity, crews are working away from the fire's edge, building fire line indirect in preparation for possible burnout or ignition operations tonight after the sun goes down. We do have change in, we do have 200 firefighters, and we do have change in evacuations, and I'll go ahead and turn that over to Kearny, Town of Kearny PIO, Dave Orzel.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Orzel. As said, I'm the Public Information Officer for the Town of Kearny, and I have some very positive news to report to you right now. The majority of the evacuations have been lifted. People in the 500 block of Greenwich and Hartford are being allowed back into their homes. People in the 100 and 200 blocks of Jamestown are being allowed back into their homes. And everything west of the tracks are being allowed back. The businesses are open, and things are trying to get back to normal in those areas. The only area left at this time that is still evacuated is Stevens Trailer Court. And if you'd like, I can go over here to the map. And that is the trailer court that is south of town right here. That's still evacuated. And once again, 500 block, Greenwich and Hartford are back in. Everything west of the tracks, back in. 100 and 200 blocks of Ivanhoe and Jamestown, back in. And if you have questions about the evacuation, we're going to hold them until the end, and then we'll all answer questions appropriately. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Judy Thompson-Rice. Trudy is with the Red Cross, and she'll give us an update on the sheltering situation.
Shelter was at Superior High School last night. We had one overnighter. He lived at the trailer court, and we have gotten approval to move the shelter to the LDS Church here in town. It's now safe for us to be here, so that'll be much easier for the residents who need some help. We're converting it to a cooling station, which means that there will be no overnight accommodations. However, we can convert it to an overnight shelter immediately. The cots are still with us, so we can change that immediately if people do need a place to sleep tonight. We'll have meals, water, there's a nurse there, and anything else that residents need. If anybody needs help getting back up and running in their homes, they need to come talk to us because we have caseworkers available that can work with them. Thanks.
Thank you, Trudy. We'd kind of like to open it up for questions now. I think that would probably be easier to answer your questions because we have a lot of information that we're wanting to put out, but we're going to put out the information you need. We've already put out what we need to have you put out to the public. We really appreciate your working with us as partners in this situation. What are your questions?
Is the fire still actively burning?
Yes, it's actively burning to the northwest, up the riverbed. As we saw this morning, it was up and down. It's kind of calmed down a little bit more. They've done a very aggressive attack on it from the air, putting a lot of water on it from the Type 1 helicopters. And we've got some reports that it's really making some effect. So we'll be kind of assessing that situation throughout the afternoon. That'll come up with our tactics for tonight and see what kind of crews we're going to put out and what tactics we're going to use to fight the fire from this point forward.
What area is being mopped up right
As the fire burns through, we've got crews on either side of the burned area to do the mop and make sure it doesn't slop over into an unburned area.
Are there any other towns or areas with homes that you're worried about right now?
I believe, David, do you want to address that? Because that's part of the evacuation.
Sure. If the fire keeps moving north, we have two communities in that area, the communities of Kelvin and Riverside. And the fire behavior is going to dictate whether or not we get concerned about evacuating those areas. At this time, we are not considering it, so.
Senator McGuire, I just want to commend everybody on the job that they're doing here.
Podium.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hi, folks. Thanks for being here. This is Senator Barbara McGuire. I represent LD8, Pinal County, and a portion of Gila County. I just want to reach out to the responders, the firefighters, and everyone for a great job that they're doing here in protecting the well-being of the livelihood and the lives of the people here and their property. I just received a call from Governor Ducey. He is in Mexico, it's my understanding, and he reached out to me and asked if there was anything that we needed here, and if there was, not to hesitate to call him. He is being briefed regularly. He's very aware of what's going on, and we are in his prayers. So thank you again to all the responders that are here that are doing such a great job in protecting the lives and the people of this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Any additional questions?
Is there any number on how many people are still evacuated?
An actual number? Well, based on before, there were just a handful, and that's what we were using as far as
The problem we're
probably
having
about
keeping
20.
track of people is a lot of the people have relatives here, and as opposed to reporting. Oh, yeah. The problem we're having with keeping track of people as they evacuate is there are a number of relatives here, and they'll go stay with a relative instead of checking in at the Red Cross Center, so keeping a count of that has been difficult.
The 3 homes that were damaged, do we know to what extent and if they were occupied?
I don't have an answer.
Web is saying that there were 3 homes that were.
Yes, we did have 3 primary residences that were burned. I don't know the extent of that. We are going to try to put together a tour this afternoon. I don't know if we'll get into that. Our primary concern is not what's been lost, is what we can save. And that's been the major priority for us is once burned is burned, we're putting all our efforts into those structures that we can save. So that's our main tactic right now.
How is the weather playing a role today with the fire right now?
What we were told this morning by the Weather Service, we get spot weather reports and put that in our incident action plan. And it looks like the same type of situation as we had yesterday with the high winds. And what the wind does, it actually dries out the fuels. The drier the fuel, the more volatile it is, and it's easier to burn, lower ignition temperatures. And the amount of fuels down there and the type of fuels, the weather always plays a big part in, and especially this time of year, everybody knows this is fire season. We haven't hit the monsoon, probably won't until the end of the month or into the beginning of July. So weather is always a big concern for us, and that's a big part of what we use to come up with strategies and the tactics that we use to put the fire out.
What did the overnight weather do to help you guys with the fire this morning?
Which, okay, what was the weather, well, like a week ago? How did it affect?
Overnight, like we.
Oh, overnight. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So what he's asking is what effect did the weather overnight have? What it does is the winds die down, the humidity comes up a bit for us. We're able to let the fire lay down. The crews are able to get in, maybe cut some more line and do that, to do those preparation things to do back burns at night because it's not as volatile. We don't want to do back burns during the day with the winds because it could get out of control. So at nights when we want to do those types of operations, so where it's going to back towards the fire, eliminate those fuels and let it burn out itself.
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but can you give us an idea, you're experienced in this, can you give us an idea of a containment status?
Well, it all depends on, again, the weather, the amount of water we can get on it with the helicopters and the amount of crews we can get down there. Believe we can only get like type 6 vehicles down in that area. It's very tight, it's very, very hard. So a lot of the crews are on, doing it by hand, and it's a very, very slow process. But I know I don't have the crystal ball, but just based on experience, we're looking at a few more days
Okay, I just wanted to
fight
dispel
this.
the rumor that's going around that it's a possibility that by this evening, this fire will be contained, because folks that do have folks living here in the area are concerned, they're wanting to come into the community.
Sure.
And I've cautioned them in doing so until the fire safety or the fire danger has been lifted.
And the sheriff's office is working in close coordination with us in our operations chief to ensure that we're not putting people back in a dangerous situation. That's our number one concern. Number one, you know, life safety is our number one priority, and property safety comes secondary to that. So we're always looking at making sure we don't put the people back into a dangerous situation.
What caused the fire?
The fire's under investigation, and we're doing a joint investigation between the town of Kearny and the sheriff's office, and I believe even the state forestry has some people that are looking into that.
So we don't know what caused it?
No, not at this point.
And how close
It's under
are you guys
investigation.
to getting to, I guess, the cause?
It might take, I've got fires that are 6 and 7 years old, and we haven't come up with the cause yet, but at the same time, we're working, you know, to come to that end. Sometimes it takes months. Somebody coming forward, seeing somebody, taking action, setting the, you know, those kind of take time. But we look at the physical evidence, we look at kind of the situation and time of day, all those factors are taken into account during the investigation, so.
Any idea if this was set on purpose?
We don't know that at this point, and that's part of the investigation, is to rule out every possibility of ignition source and then put the investigation together with, you know, with those factors in order to come up with a good cause.
Did the fire from a few years ago, the damage that was done, did that prevent this one from getting worse?
Well, actually, it did. The shipment fire was 2 years ago, is that correct? I said a year ago this morning, I'm sorry. It was 2 years ago. The fire, whenever we have fire before and another fire comes, it's a very slow fire because that fuel is not the same as it was before the fire. So fire is good in a lot of senses. I don't know if you're aware, we have 2 controlled burns up in my area. I work for the area of Pine Strawberry. We have 2 fires we're letting burn because it's good for the forest, and it's maintained, the fuels are right to be burned and such. So when we had the shipment fire down here, it did prevent the fire from burning even more intensely in that same area. So as it hit the southeastern part of Kearny, it kind of slowed down, and we were able to get it contained there. Any other questions?
Mike, what effect is the heat having on firefighters?
I relate it back to being a structural firefighter, and, you know, 10, 15 minutes in this heat, you're done. And we had a lot of firefighters that were going from structure protection back to wildland. They're in their turnout gear, you know, the 70 pounds of stuff we carry as structure firefighters. And the effect is devastating, and we got to keep an eye on our firefighters, make sure they're hydrated, and we pull them out and put them into rehab. So the folks that the personnel that we had go through in a cool down period, we call it. It's called rehab for us, and you get them cooled down, maybe stick an IV in them, and get them back online. So that's all part of the process of being a firefighter in this heat.
Have there been any serious
No.
injuries or anything?
No, there haven't been. There were some people who went through rehab and got rehydrated and got back online.
There
Yes.
was reports last night that there was a firefighter that was sent to Maricopa Burn Center last night for inhalation of smoke.
I have not heard that at all.
I had
Because there,
confirmation of that.
there's confirmation it's trending was on Facebook. It's a local firefighter from Superior. So apparently he was released.
A nephew of Carmen Casilla.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that didn't get reported up through the incident command. So if that happened, we're going to look into that, Kevin. So we'll look into that and make sure that gets good. So you got to understand something. This was an initial attack from 11 o'clock all the way through last night. It's initial attack. So for resources from all over the county and the state are here. I'm from Pine Strawberry.
Yeah.
We come in, we do we didn't have a structured incident command system set up. It was what we call like a type 4, type 3 incident command system. And some of those things, those people with that crew might have went ahead and just transported him on their own, and it didn't get up through the system. And as it matures, if we go into direct and deliberate type attacks like we're doing today, we have a much better incident command relationship with all the crews, and we're taking full accountability of each one of those crews out there, and it's a maturing process that we go through in these types of situations. So you start out with one engine on a scene, and it's developed into over probably 250 plus resources out here now. So,
And what about
yeah.
injuries to residents or animals, anything like that?
Haven't heard of any animals or and the state agricultural department here. Their livestock folks were just here. I think they've been here since the beginning. And I think we just had a young lady come in and ask for their number because she had a couple dogs missing. So haven't had any reports of any injuries, but they're actively working with the community to make sure the animals are safe.
And the dogs were actually found.
And the dogs are found. Good news, dogs are found. It's all about the animals.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Any structures that we're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, up to the riverside area and Calvin, is that correct? Yeah, Calvin, that community. Keep a real close eye on that. And just like we did down here in Kearny, is the initial attack was to push that fire back away from those structures, and we're doing the same thing up in that area.
Should that fire encroach on or bypass the Calvin Riverside area, I know that there's a bridge there that connects the road to Florence. Do you know what the structure of that bridge is? Will it withstand that fire? Will that bridge get taken out? Because that'll strand a lot of people from coming in that direction. They'll have to go all the way around.
That's something we'll have to look at on our tactics and strategies with the operations and planning folks that are in place now. So all of those types of situations where we're looking at the next operational period and we're looking at the tactics for the next operational period, they take all of that terrain and all of those, the bridges and homes, they take a look at all of those and add them into the calculation of how we're going to fight the fire from that next point.
We have several plans in place in case things change as time goes on.
Right. So what you're saying, we have contingency plans. We have like plan A, B, and C. And if this doesn't work, we go to B. If that doesn't work, it goes to C. And we're always looking at the next. We have planning, two very professional planning chiefs here, and they're very good at looking at the situation and coming up with the resources we need for those situations. Okay. Anything else?
What time's the tour?
Well, we'll let you know about that. If you're hanging out here, in fact, you can stay in here if you like. Are there restrooms here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we've got restrooms right here. There's water fountains and all in the building. We have the information office over in the main office for the school. You're welcome to come over there, get some water. We'll get that worked out. We have to coordinate with, Kevin's going to be doing that this afternoon, coordinating with the operations to make sure we get you in and out safe. So we're looking forward to having you go out and take a look at the areas that we've saved. Okay, good. Okay, anything else? Thank you very much. We'll see you 1700. 5 o'clock. It's my military.